Hello, hi, and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Sarah, and this is Wicked Reading. So today I'm going to share with you guys the books that I should / want to read by the end of the year. Now, I'm going to be totally honest here, and the vast majority of these books in the stack are from my 24 books I want to read in 2024 goal. I am behind, so I have so far read 12 of said 24 books to read in 2024, meaning I have 12 books left that I have not got to from that goal. And I want to get to them because I purposely made my 24 picks all books that were already on my physical TBR that I already own. So I want to chisel away at my physical TBR. So a lot of the books are from that, but I will also be sharing a few other books that I need to get to either for book club reasons, for Patreon reasons, or I picked out a few as well for my horror bingo card challenge. So I want to get a few of those books done as well. So in total, I have 19 books to share with you guys that I am hoping to read between November and December. It's a pretty hefty goal because obviously all of these I physically own, so I'd be physically reading. So do I think I will accomplish it? I'm gonna try, but if I don't accomplish it, I don't accomplish it. It's okay. But I am going to try to prioritize and try to focus on these 19 books for the rest of the year. So I'm going to start by going through the books from my 24 and 24 that I still need to get to. And I forgot some of these were on that list, and there's quite a bit of chunky, intimidating reads that clearly are still very intimidating that I still have put off. But maybe we'll get a few of them checked off. If I can get at least one of the next 3 books done, I will feel very accomplished. But the first book I have is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This is like a space opera epic fantasy. I don't quite recall the whole synopsis of this anymore. I've had it for a while now, but I know we follow like a necromancer in space and there's lesbians, and that's really all I know about it. I think it's going on a 4-book series. I think it was supposed to be a 3-book series, but now there's more books. But I'm so intimidated by this because a lot of people say how confusing it is. So you're kind of supposed to be confused for a while before you put all the pieces together, I guess. And I don't know that I can handle that. But I still have it. I still want to read it. I don't have the desire to unhaul it over reading it, but I'm nervous for it. After that, we have Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. This is another fantasy, another chunky fantasy. And this one we follow 2 twins. And one of them is really good with words, languages, yada yada, and the other one is really into numbers. It says numbers are her world, her obsession, her everything. All she understands, she does so through the power of math. It says Roger and Dodger, which are the names of the twins, which I will say, I kind of hate that those are their names, but whatever. Roger and Dodger aren't exactly human, though they don't realize it. They aren't exactly gods either. Not entirely, not yet. And I know it has to do with like alchemy, and that's really all I know. But I've heard such wonderful things about this book. I haven't heard as great of things about the sequel, I will say, but I heard really, really good things about this one. And because of how many good things I heard, I succumbed to the peer pressure and I bought it, and I've yet to get to it. So I should prioritize this one. And then we have The Helm of Midnight by Marina Lastetter. So this book has to do with a death mask that I think possesses the spirit of, I think it was like a serial killer. It says the spirit of a monster from history, a serial murderer who terrorized the city. It says the killer is now on the loose, killing from beyond the grave, but these murders are different from before, not simply random, but the work of a deliberate mind probing for answers to a sinister question. I heard about this book a while ago. I believe I heard it from Reagan from Peruse Project. What I remember of her talking about this is that something with the mask, if you have the mask, you possess the power. And that's really all I know about this going into it. I completely blank and forget fantasy synopsises immediately. I just know at one point this sounded really interesting to me, so I bought it. And this one, honestly, out of the 3 is the one I want to get to the most. So I'm gonna at least try to get to this one, okay? Next we have The Ruins by Scott Smith. I wanna read this one so bad. I keep putting it off. I don't know why. This is actually also on my horror bingo card, so it'd be really nice to also read this because it would count for 2 goals. This has to do with a friend group that gets lost in like the Mexican wilderness or something like that. And just based on how I hear people talk about this book, I think I'm gonna really like it. A lot of people who know my reading taste very well keep telling me to read this. They think I'm gonna love it. This is a bit of a 5-star prediction for me, so make that known now. Not that I'm gonna count it for horror bingo, but I do think I'm really gonna like this. I heard it has really good body horror. I heard that there's some planty stuff in it as well, which really intrigues me. There is a movie to this that I also have not seen, but I do own, so I might do a read and then watch kind of scenario. We'll see. I know also one of my patrons specifically asked me to read this, so it's in the Patreon TBR jar, so it could get picked for a Patreon pick. So we'll see if this comes up organically in one of those types of ways, but I do need to read this by the end of the year. Next is Tastes Like Candy by Ivy Tholen. I probably should have read this in October to make it seasonally appropriate for me, but I didn't. And now I kind of don't want to pick it up because I feel like the time has passed. But in this story, we follow a group of friends that I believe break into an abandoned amusement park, I want to say, and there's serial killing that starts to happen. That's really all I know. I hear it's kind of like more of a zany, goofy slasher. I don't know much more than that because the synopsis that is written on the back is actually a synopsis for a totally different Ivy Tholen book. So I just know that it's a slasher that takes place at an amusement park. After that, I have Gallows Hill by Darcy Coates. As you can tell, there's a bookmark in it because it was picked for a bookmark TBR that I didn't get to, but I need to because one, it's on my 24 for 24, so I should get to this. And this is like the perfect time of year to get to it. So I really need to. This has also been on like 3 or 4 past TBRs. I don't know why. I keep just not wanting to read this one, even though I really want to read a Darcy Coates book. I keep just avoiding this. I don't know. I think it just kind of gets outshined because, to be honest, the synopsis doesn't stand out super much. It pretty much has to do with like a haunted winery. I think that maybe we have 2 siblings that come home and like find their parents murdered, and then it's like a haunted winery story from there. So it just like, it doesn't sound very unique, I guess. It just doesn't stand out, but I hear such good things about Darcy Coates in general that I really need to prioritize this. So I'm really going to try to get to this one in November. After that, I have The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. I really want to read this, but it takes a while for me to get into the mood for a Greek mythology retelling. So this is a Greek mythology retelling. We follow Amara, who was once the beloved daughter of a Greek doctor until her father's death plunged her mother into destitution. And then Amara becomes a slave and prostitute in Pompeii's notorious Wolf Den brothel, owned by a cruel and ruthless man. So the synopsis sounds so good. I feel like the writing is going to be delicious. It's going to be very, hopefully, like woman empowering in a bad situation, trying to get out or make good of it. I don't know. I'm very drawn to this, but again, I'm just like very picky on moods for reading a Greek mythology story. But just because of like the vibes of it, the color of the book, it feels like fall. So I have kind of been putting it off for fall. So hopefully I pick it up in the next couple months. Next we have A Diary of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is another one that has been on like a past TBR that I did not end up reading. I don't know why. This is another one that I think I'm gonna love that I just keep putting off because of that. In the story we follow, I believe, one of the previous brides of Dracula, and it's like a format where she's writing stories to Dracula and pretty much telling him about all of the trauma she endured and really giving it to him. So I think that this one too will have just lovely writing, really nice prose, and will make me feel all the feels, and I've just been avoiding it for who knows why. Next up, we have How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I specifically put this on the 24 for 24 because I wanted to put some of my book subscription some of my book subscription books on the goal list. Oh my goodness, that was difficult. I wanted to put some of the books from subscription boxes on the list specifically, and this I received in a Nightworms package. I will say I am pretty good at reading my Nightworms package books. Specifically, I'm horrible at Fairy Loot, which we'll get to in a second, but that is why I specifically put that on this list. And I will be honest, I'm not drawn to it. I've heard very mixed things. I think I might try to do the audiobook for this one. I've had very mixed experiences with Grady Hendrix books in general. Some of them I absolutely loved and gave 5 stars, and some of them just felt very mediocre and I gave 3 stars to. So I haven't hated any of his works, but this one doesn't necessarily scream to me in any way. I know that this one's a bit more campy, a little bit more goofy. I know that there's a puppet involved, so yeah, I don't know. I might try to do the audiobook for this one to at least get it checked off the list, but this is probably one that I'm the least excited for, honestly. After that, we have Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home by Jessa Hastings. I adored the first Magnolia Parks. I loved it. I ate it up, devoured it. So good. So good. The writing was so good. The toxic relationship I was just here for. And I felt so many emotions reading that book. And then I read Daisy Hates, and I hated Daisy Hates. So that made me really apprehensive to pick this one up. So I keep putting it off because Daisy Hates just left such a bad taste in my mouth. I really did not like that one. But I do think that this will restore what I know from the first one because we're following Magnolia Parks again. And I just feel like the author wrote Magnolia Parks much better than she wrote Daisy Hates. So I'm hoping to kind of get back to the original feelings I had for the original Magnolia Parks in reading this. It's a chunky one. I'm a little bit nervous for it, but it is one I have to get to. And one I've been meaning to. I think this did end up on a monthly TBR at one point in time, but here I am, still have not read it. Really need to. Okay, and then the next 2 books are the final books for the 24 for 24 stack, and these are both Fairy Loot books because a goal of mine was to read at least 2 Fairy Loot books for the year. I said in my original video, that honestly, if I read any 2 Fairy Loot books, I would be excited. Haven't even done that. So these are the ones I technically put on the list. So the first one is If I Have to Be Haunted by Miranda Sun. I kind of forget what this one's about. I think it follows our main character and she can see ghosts or something like that, and a boy from her high school dies and she makes contact with him, and then I think it kind of becomes a romance from there. I do believe that this was one of the YA books because for a while I was getting the YA and adult book box together. So I think that this was one of the YA ones. Don't remember when it's from it because I didn't leave the card or anything in it. But yeah, I really need to get to Fairy Loot books in general. And this was one that I put on my list. So wish me luck. The other one is one that I do really want to get to, and I just keep putting off again for who knows why. And that is Bonesmith by Nikki Powell Pretro. This has to do with a I don't know if she's a necromancer. Is she a necromancer? Let's see. Well, she's a bonesmith and her name is Ren, and she pretty much has to go into this very dangerous territory where I think there's like undead walking or something like that, but she has to go into this territory to rescue the prince. And that's kind of like I guess all I need to know about it. I do like the idea of it. I think it sounds very interesting. I did also order the second book. I think it's called Ghostsmith for this series, so I need to read this one. I think I'll like it. I think it'll be like a 4-star read for me, so there's that. Okay, and now getting into a couple of books that I have to read for my Patreon, either for my Bunny Book Club or for my Buggy read that I do with my Bug Tier and Up. I have 2 books for that for November. I don't have the 2 books that I'm going to do for December yet. So there are 2 books, unbeknownst to me and unbeknownst to you, that I will also have to read in December, but I don't know what they are yet. We wait till closer to the month to pick out which book we want to read for the next month. So the first one is actually This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin. I don't have the book, so I can't remember her name right now. I think it starts with an M, but it's up on the screen. This will be read for the Bunny Book Club. This is available on Kindle Unlimited, and this has to do with a family. I guess it's more so like a mother and daughter, and I believe that they're going like on a family vacation or something, but they have a very tumultuous relationship, and I think like this is where we talk things out. Like, it's going to be a scenario where they kind of want to talk about what that relationship, like why it's so messed up. I don't really know, honestly, but I've had this on my Kindle for a very long time and I've been wanting to read it, but because it's definitely like snowy setting because of the cover, I've been waiting for like winter to read it. And I'm really glad actually one of the other bunnies suggested that we read this one, and I thought that that was perfect, and then it got picked on the poll. So there we go. I'm going to be reading that. And then also for November for my Patreon, I will be reading Deliver Me by Elle Nash. I'm reading this for the Buggy Read, the official Buggy Read pick for November each month. One of the Buggy Reads, which is our version of Buddy Reads. We have a bunch of them going on, but I will pick one a month to do a spoiler-filled reading vlog on, and this is the one I will be doing a spoiler-filled reading vlog on for November. And this has to do with a lot of things. There's a lot of elements with this book and it follows the main character who has had a history of miscarriages, and she's pregnant again, and she's determined to keep this pregnancy to term. But there's a lot of other tragic, disturbing, messed up stuff going on around her and in her life. Her boyfriend has a bug fetish. Her mother and her relationship is really bad. I think she also fled the Pentecostal church. So there's a lot of stuff potentially going on with this story, and I think it's going to be quite disturbing, a little bit dark. Love this cover though. I think that this cover is just divine. I love it. Gross, nasty. Sign me up. So I'm excited to get to this one, although I have heard not so great of things about it, but I'm gonna go and give it a fair chance, and hopefully I come out loving it. This next book is one that I actually just simply want to read by the end of 2024 because so many people, I saw just so many people reading it this year and loving it, and I think it's going to end up on a lot of people's favorite books of 2024, so I want to give it a chance to get on mine, and that is Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi. This story follows a group of boys. They are at an orphanage, and one day a stranger comes to visit, and I believe that he is like possessed or something. It talks about like occult symbols on his body. He's badly wounded. His death releases an ancient evil that spreads like sickness, infecting the orphanage and the children within. So it's definitely like a very occult possession type of story. I have heard that it has some pretty wicked, disturbing body horror going on with it, and it gets pretty brutal. So I'm very interested in this, and yeah, literally I have heard nothing but raving reviews about this one, so I'm super curious about it, and I want to give it a chance to be another 5-star book for my 2024 reading year. So the last 4 books that I have are all dedicated to the Horror Bingo Board Challenge because I want to get a few more of those done, and I have Monstrilio by Gerardo Samano Cordova. I picked this book out for Reaper Read, the hard mode, because in the story we follow a mother who is grieving her son that passed away, and in that grief she takes a piece of his lung, and this piece of lung manifests and turns into Monstrilio, which is like this little grief creature. So I'm super curious about this. This is another one I have been told that I will really like, and another one I've been putting off, but here we are. I'm gonna read it. It's on the bingo board, and now it's on this video, so hold me accountable if I don't actually read it, but I think I'll really enjoy it. These next 2 books I am officially deeming 5-star predictions. So they may or may not actually end up on the bingo board if they don't actually get 5 stars, but here now I'm deeming these 5-star predictions. And the first one is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpin. This is one I've been really wanting to get to as well because I hear such wonderful things. I think that this is just the exact type of story I like. We follow a group of women who have been isolated in a bunker their whole lives, and one day they get out. And that's literally all I know, but I hear such wonderful things about this. I hear it's quite a tearjerker, very beautifully written, and it just sounds so wonderful. It sounds like such a great feminist story, and I'm really excited to get to it, and I think it's going to be 5 stars. Another one that I think is going to be 5 stars because I love this author, and I'm so excited for this book. I know very little about it, but I'm just going to go into it, and that is Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. It's a novella. I don't know much other than their main character goes into like a rest stop of a gas station and all hell breaks loose. How? Why? Don't know, but I'm curious to find out. I think I'm gonna love it. I hear good things about it. I love Nat Cassidy in general, so it's a 5-star prediction for me. And then another one, honestly, I may or may not read this one, but if I can get another bingo board book in general, I will be happy. But I did technically pull this one for this stack, but don't hold me to this one, and that is Blood Covenant by Alan Baxter. This I picked out for Blood on the Cover. I was kind of going for it. Maybe I should try to get the first row done situation in my head, and this one was just sitting there, and I was like, I'll grab this one because it's on the slightly shorter side. It's not like a novella, but it's a slightly shorter one, so it feels a little bit less intimidating, especially if I have all these chunky fantasies that I need to get to. So in the story, we follow a criminal and his crew that pretty much attempted to do a bank heist, but it went wrong and they fled, and they decided to go into a house that they thought was abandoned or empty, but there turns out to be a family there, and they end up taking this family as hostages, and one of the people ends up spilling blood, and the spilled blood ends up waking up an ancient evil. So again, it sounds very kind of like supernatural, occult-esque. And yeah, so if I can get to this and get another bingo board spot done, I will be very happy. So that's this one. So that is all 19 books I specifically have picked out, although again, there are 2 books unbeknownst to me that will be added to that. So technically I have 21 books that I would like to read by the end of the year, meaning 21 books in 2 months. Meaning 21 physical books in 2 months, meaning I need to start reading like yesterday. I'm not a very fast reader, so I don't know that I will get to all of these, but these will be my priority even going into 2025. 2025 for me is going to be a lot of focus on my physical TBR, so these will help along with that goal as well. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them in the comments down below. If you made it to this point and have nothing else to say, but want to let me know you were here, go ahead and leave a blood drop emoji in the comments down below. If you haven't yet, please give the video a like, subscribe for future content, turn on the bell notification, all the fun YouTube things that help your girl out, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye!